A game is defined as a form of play. A competitive game is played according to rules and decided by skill, strength, or luck. None of these characteristics apply to Dear Esther. Yet it is, without question, a game. Or is it? In 2008, a modification of the popular first-person shooter Half-Life 2 was released, named Dear Esther. This critically acclaimed mod focused solely on story. A man, alone on an island, narrates fragments of his letters to Esther, while the player roams the island.
Dear Esther, I met Paul. I made my own little pilgrimage. My Damascus, a small semi-detached on the outskirts of Wolverhampton. We drank coffee in his kitchen and tried to connect to one another.
One year later, game developer Robert Briscoe decided to redevelop the game. The result is an extremely detailed and immersive world. You are washed ashore on an island, where you start off by investigating an abandoned shack. At this point it becomes clear that the only interaction in Dear Esther is the ability to walk around. But that is not a limitation. Just look at how wonderfully detailed the surroundings are. The visuals are almost ungame-like, even by today's standards.
Dear Esther, I have now driven the stretch of the M5 between Exeter and Bristol over 21 times. But although I have all the reports and all the witnesses, and have cross-referenced them within a millimetre using my Ordnance Survey maps, I simply cannot find the location. You'd think there would be marks to serve as some evidence. It's somewhere between the turn-off for Sanford and the welcome brake services. But although I can always see it in my rear-view mirror, I have as yet been unable to pull ashore.
At first, the letters to Esther come across as too poetic and unorganised. There are constant referrals to cars and accidents, which seem out of place in a world without paved roads. But about halfway through, it all starts to make sense. The logics of the story aren't too different from non-story driven games, so it does feel like you're playing a game. The level of immersion and the slow pace of Dear Esther allow you to focus on the story being told. The quiet moments in between the narration are filled in by an orchestrated soundtrack that somehow always seems to shine on the right moment. The 4 chapters of Dear Esther all tell a part of the story. You could play chapters in a different order, but I recommend starting with chapter 1 and ending with the last chapter. Ultimately, Dear Esther will be remembered as a linear story, in which mood and setting are perfectly executed. It is easy to mistake this project for a tech demo or an audiobook with nice visuals, but it does more than that. Stories in games are usually just a byproduct. They explain why a game world exists, or they are used as an excuse to reach a certain objective. Dear Esther takes a bold approach by showing us that more can be done with storytelling in games. It opens the door for a new genre that hopefully will evolve far and beyond what Dear Esther has shown.